Good evening, everyone, and Happy New Year. I feel like this is the first time I have connected with our Sonder fam since the new year. So good evening. Welcome. My name is Katie Gideon, and I will be your facilitator this evening for our second week of the January weekly setup. I am dialing in from Houston, Texas. Made my trek back down south. So I am home in Houston and super excited to do this. And I want to give a shout out to my amazing co-facilitator, Bailey, who is joining us from Tennessee. And we are so excited to help you set up and get ready for your week. So I see a lot of familiar names. Welcome to all of our returning socialers. And then I see a bunch of new folks. So excited for you guys to join us for your first social, potentially your first weekly setup. So we are going to share kind of tips, tricks, thoughts, everything that we go to with everyone setting up here. So make sure that you do have your chat set to everyone, because one of the benefits of coming to these socials is learning some of those tips, tricks, and approaches from your fellow Sonder folks in the Sonder chat. So again, everyone who is joining us, you are automatically entered into that self-care raffle. And what you can do is make sure you have your January journal with you. If you are still waiting on yours, you can always contact hello@silkandsonder.com to get updated statuses of, but you can definitely grab a notepad or paper just to kind of take notes until then. But really, we are going to be focusing on the week setup as well as the weekly kind of planner portion. So we're going to be working in page 40 in your January journal. And this is week number 2 of the year, week number 2 of January, all the fun weeks. So we are ready to get started. So this month's theme is abundance, which I think is an excellent kind of segue from the end of the year into the beginning of the year, just because there's abundance of, optimism, hope, connection, all of those new things that I feel like you get really excited for as we go into a new year, a new month, kind of all of the newness and the options and the possibility. But it was certainly one of those things that Bailey and I were talking earlier about, kind of the social. And I was like, there's definitely there's themes that you just embrace wholeheartedly. It speaks to you, you understand it. It's one of those kind of defining characteristics that you have. I was like, and then there are those weeks or months that it's just going to be a little trickier. You're not necessarily inspired by it, or it can be a little triggering. It's going to be a little bit challenging. So I fall into that latter category of abundance is going to be a little tricky for me to navigate. And it's more just because of the thought process and the approach. Cannot complain about the abundance of opportunities that I potentially have, but it then just makes it harder to make decisions. And that is where I come into my data analytics side and my kind of head versus heart combinations that are just kind of battling each other and all of these things. So it becomes a little tricky for me. So I am going to have to embrace all that is abundant and try and come up with kind of how am I going to approach this. So I think it's going to be a lot of self-reflection as opposed to some of those that I just feel like I can naturally incorporate. So if you feel those kind of hesitations with the theme, don't worry, you can embrace it in pieces. You can redefine it, or you don't even have to embrace the theme at all. And you just kind of approach it from a different perspective. So a lot of it is listening to what you want, listening to what you need, listening to what you think you need to reflect on at that moment, because this is your journal and your journey. So thank you everyone for being here. We are ready to get started. We're going to do our abundance mind map. We're going to do the rosebud thorn exercise from the end of last week, kind of reflecting on the previous week. Then we're going to roll into our weekly setup. So for those of you that are just joining us, we do these kind of themed mind maps for our weekly setups. And so we will cover the first topic, but they're all connected to the theme under these mind map concepts. So we are going to take a deeper dive each week into a specific category where we can embrace the overall theme. So because there are 5 weekends in January, we're going to have 5 different areas to focus on this month. So this week, week number 2, we are going to be focusing on the abundance aspect, but looking at through the lens of health. For those of you that maybe missed the first week was opportunities. Now we're in the second week, which is health. So if you're continuing with us for that week 2, there is health. And so here is my example. This is the mind map that I drew. I always draw it on the very last notes page in my journal. And so this is where I've included the first week theme, which was opportunities, the second theme, which is health. But as I said, I had a little bit of a trickier time trying to get started. So I asked myself kind of these potential questions, which the thought of reflecting on abundance is, wouldn't it be nice if, or what would it look like if, and then if you knew you couldn't fail, what would you choose? So these were kind of the options that I looked at. And so again, I have kind of mixed feelings when it comes to health because I have an autoimmune condition. The abundance is that I know a lot about my condition, but I don't know all of the impacts. But being able to kind of be that ownership of my health history, being my best advocate, and then being able to reflect on the medical care options that I have. And so those are kind of the things that I wanted to celebrate about abundance, but also acknowledging that the abundance of all of the kind of outcomes is also there and kind of looming. And so again, if you missed the first week, it was opportunities. So you can kind of write those down. And then, as I said, this is how I've used my notes page to come to all of this. And so I'm going to give you guys some time to work on this. So again, we're on a notes page, working through our abundance mind map of week number 2, which is health. And I will let you get to it. Thank you, everyone, for sharing not only your just very vulnerable, but also just very honest responses to this. I definitely felt that health was certainly going to be an interesting topic to kind of have to kind of embrace the abundance for, because I feel like if you've gone on those kind of health journeys, there's, a ton of options, but then there are moments where you do not feel like you have options. And that's also on the physical as well as the mental health side. So I thought this was certainly a very interesting topic to kind of dive into. And again, you don't have to have answered any of these questions or reflected on any of this. This is just kind of the notes that you can have, the kind of potential questions to kind of ask there. But it's definitely one of those, the being, thankful for the healthcare options and the multiple options, the ability to kind of choose some of your own paths to kind of impact some of that. But also just in the overall understanding of, if you have a certain condition that's not your overall defining, where you're an abundance of other characteristics outside of this. So I feel like this is definitely a trickier of the theme embracing this. So I knew this was going to be a tricky week. And I think it's going to certainly set an interesting kind of tone for me this week, as I'm going to continue to kind of focus now more on the self-reflection journaling aspect of this. So the opportunity to potentially come back this and overlay into some of those kind of deeper self-reflection, I think is really just kind of interesting. So thank you, everybody, for sharing. Appreciate all of the, like I said, honesty there. And so now we're going to move into our next activity, which this is going to be on page 36, the rosebud thorn, which is a really great activity that you'll find at the end of each week. So for the previous week, it's on the last page of the planner, the weekly spread for that. And so it's an opportunity to kind of look back on this last week, and you can certainly use it within the week. You can certainly look at it within the month. It can even be focused on kind of your rosebud thorn of the day or the weekend. So yes, thank you, Bailey. We're on page 36. And so the rose is going to be kind of a highlight. What was something that you were able to celebrate this week? Something that made you happy, something that made you smile, something that you were certainly satisfied with, something, kind of an event, an activity. Maybe it was just a feeling. And again, they don't have to be kind of earth shattering. It can be some of the simplicity of, I got to everywhere I needed to be on time that week. Bud would be an emerging opportunity. So this is certainly something you're looking forward to, something that can be exciting for this week, something that you're excited for next week. Kind of one of those fun opportunities is something that you're kind of a little excited about. And then the thorn is always, we take the good, we get excited about the hope and the optimism, and then we also kind of celebrate those challenges. And it's more of just an acknowledgement that there are ups, there are downs, and the opportunity to kind of see it in this kind of linear celebration, I think is always, I think, a really valuable asset. And what I had found is that it was a little hard for me to figure out my roses at times. So on the weekly spread under the one thing, that is actually where I started kind of celebrating my kind of one good thing for that day, or that one kind of rose that I was excited about for that day, to make it a little bit easier on myself for the weekly rose. Because I am definitely one of those, I am a type A, high performing, so I dwell on the not so great. So I couldn't tell you what I did well this week, but I can tell you all the mistakes I made. So the one thing was kind of how I started celebrating my wins each week. I've also kind of repurposed my mind body health plan for that as well. So again, page 36. And we're looking at our rosebud thorn, and I will give you guys a few moments to respond. Thank you everyone for sharing your rosebud thorns. A lot of great things to celebrate. A lot of really fun opportunities coming up. And then again, the acknowledgement of the kind of thorns, the challenges, the loss that some people have experienced. It is certainly one of those opportunities to kind of see it all, kind of again in this type of format setup. Rosebud thorn is certainly a Silk and Sonder staple. And as it was mentioned, we were on page 36, but you'll be able to kind of reflect on this week on page 44. So they're kind of handed there into that rosebud thorn. We also included in some of our other activities just to kind of look at it from maybe a monthly standpoint or even kind of a yearly standpoint, or even under just kind of the themes of what was a rose situation when abundance, what was maybe a thorn situation is abundant as well. So there's a bunch of different takes to do this particular exercise, but the opportunity to kind of treat it as that weekly roundup, weekly reflection, I think is really helpful. So now we're going to go into our weekly setup. And so this is the weekly planner. So again, we are on page 40, and I think it's a really awesome first thing that we're going to take a look at is the top right corner of page 40. This week I want to feel. So you can carry over some of your rosebud thorn reflections into what is a word or a phrase, or how do you want to feel this time next week? So there are a couple examples. You have the likes of kind of charmed, someone went above and beyond and wants to feel all of those feelings each day. But it is an opportunity to kind of get your mind as that kind of affirmation or kind of manifestation on how you want to approach this week. What do you want to feel this time next week with that kind of as your guide? For me, I found a really fun sticker that says old ways won't open new doors. So I am having to kind of recalibrate myself and my feelings to how I'm going to embrace this week. So I'm going to give you guys a few minutes to work on this one. But again, it's that the word, the phrase, the affirmation, what is going to get you through this week, or what is it that you want to do this week? I saw some great words: patience, endurance, fruitful, productive, prepared, joyful, rested, expansive. You guys came up with really great words. So this is kind of, I see it as kind of one of the more kind of simpler versions of kind of the whole setup page. But I also then feel like if you can use like a single word or a single phrase to kind of manifest how you're going to embrace the week, that makes it so much bigger and so much more powerful. Even though, there's that simplicity of just like, oh, a word. So I love the kind of added meaning if I want it, but as well as the kind of other meaning of what do I need to, because there have been those weeks where basically I just need to survive. So I love being able to kind of call out my week for that and then use it as a kind of mental checkpoint to come back each day or when I need it to figure out how I'm going to propel my week forward. So thank you everyone for sharing. And so again, we are still on page 40. And now we're moving to the weekly to-dos section. So what I love about a lot of these options is the ability to repurpose. So this can be a kind of quintessential traditional to-do list. I am more of a to-do list fan. Everyone likes, what's the difference between the to-do and the to-do? It is absolutely the mindset. The to-do are the things that I have to do, but if it's a to-do list, those are the things that I have done, and those are what I've accomplished, and those are these celebration kind of moments. I feel like it's one of those things I need a little bit of motivation to get some of these kind of menial tasks done. The updating kind of credit cards, get my dog packed, all of those things that are not nearly celebratory, but if I do a weekly to-do, definitely a little bit more celebration. You can also use the Eisenhower matrix, which is the do, decide, delegate, and delete, which is on the top right of this, based on kind of an urgent, not urgent. This is definitely a project management tool. There is a dread list. So anything that you just know you have to do. I know Maya also uses it as the eat the frog list. So these are the things you don't want to do, but you have to do. As well as bingo boards are a great success, I think, as well. So we've got a couple different examples of those. Karen, thank you for sharing your to-do list. And so these are, again, what you kind of use it. There are a couple different versions. I will scroll back and forth between these two pages. Someone also uses this one for their mind map. So all the answers that we did at the beginning under health and abundance and opportunities, they actually repurposed the square for that. Then you had another couple ones that was just kind of the mantra for that week, or a quote, as well as a couple different on the what type of energy they have. Is it high or is it low? What things that you need to do? How much time do you have? Kind of a little bit more of the analytical approach to these. But certainly options are abundant. So we'll share how you approach this. And I also want to move into the next section as well, which is the weekly major 3 goals. The reason I like to group these 3 together, or these 2 together, is I have my weekly to do, which are the things that I need to do. The weekly 3 major goals is more of the like kind of mentality that I need to have this week. So you have folks that want to focus on, the work, body, or mind kind of thing that they need to accomplish. Someone embrace the power of pause, but they can also be kind of 3 favorite quotes, 3 things you're excited about, the meditation exercise, set up to plan. But for me, these are the approaches that I need to take to kind of mentally tackle my to-do list or my week. So it's start small, it's simple steps, and focus on the important. I am having to kind of, as I said, recalibrate as I move into January, because I definitely got a little unfocused as I closed out the end of the year. So now I'm wanting to refocus, recalibrate, and get back kind of on that journey that I was on. Needed a little break. Definitely gave myself permission to do it. I embraced it. But now kind of doing a little bit more of the work behind. So these are kind of the 2 topics we're working on. Again, the weekly to-do list and the weekly 3 major goals. So let us know how you approach these, and don't worry, I will go back and forth between all of the slides. So again, page 40, middle of the page, weekly to-dos and weekly 3 major. Thank you, everyone, for sharing all of your approaches to your to-do lists, your to-do lists. Saw some bingo board options, as well as kind of the conversation of the difference between major goals. I saw that someone didn't like the word goals. It was more intentions. And I think Brenda summed it up really well, is that if your major goal is to declutter, she then connects it to her to-do list with the small steps to kind of declutter and what those specific items look for. And I think that's a great approach. I feel like these two, I definitely jump back and forth. I work on together. I'll do some to-dos and then I'll jump over to a goal. And like I said, my goals tend to be more of mentally, how am I going to approach the week? Is it being, proactive, vice reactive, those type of things. And then again, on the to-do list. So I like to do them together, knowing that I'm going to jump back and forth between the two. But that is my approach to it. And you can certainly always add, subtract. We are breaking up with perfection, so you can always change your mind on how these work. And you you can always try something new. But I would also definitely say if you're going to embrace the newness, give yourself a little grace, because things are going to work out great. Things may not work out so well, but you can do something different each week to find out what really suits you. This is certainly not something that happens overnight. I know it took me a good, probably solid 6+ months to kind of sort out how I wanted to do these pages. And while I am satisfied with it 90% of the time, there are those weeks where I'm like, I need something different. And I think it's an awesome opportunity that you can redo it each week. So now we are again on page 40, and this is our habit and activity tracker at the bottom. So you can always pull from your habits and activity kind of tracker that you set up for your month. But the kind of way that I approach those, as just one example, is the monthly habit tracker. Those are things that I want to do every single day. For my weekly habit and activity trackers, I will pull some of those, like I want to walk every day. But when I do it on my weekly spread, I will then define kind of how much I'm going to walk. I call it the reality lens, because if it's going to be crappy weather, I, melt in the rain. So I don't like to go outside in the rain. So I will make modifications to my walk or movement based on kind of weather, but also based on like work schedule, social schedule, all those things. So that is where I say my weekly spread is the reality lens of the, can I do this? Can I get this accomplished? Same thing with, I want to read every day, but maybe this week I want to read for fun. Maybe the next week I want to read more from a professional side, so that I have to tap into my nonfiction books. So I have found that is what works for me when it comes to habit and activities, kind of the difference between the monthly tracker and then the weekly. But what is amazing is you can have 6 that you can track, or you can only have 2, or maybe it's just 3. For this week, I am only tracking 3. It is the walk, movement, read for fun, and journal. As you can see, a couple other folks have the 3. This is also a great opportunity to potentially do a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And that is, you're going to do something 5 times a week, something 4 times, something 3, something 2, something 1. Another one of those as you walk through it, just to kind of figure out, as they said, it is not perfection. So you can change all of these, as well as kind of manage some of those expectations. What I also thought was fun is the one on the bottom left. They were going to incorporate vegetables or fruits. So they were going to focus on the red, orange, yellow, green, and purple, to be either incorporating those fruits or vegetables for whatever goal they have set for that day or that week, which I thought was great. And then, as I said, the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is a really fun approach to that. But at the end of the day, you can absolutely do the 6, or you can do any version of 1 through 6. It's kind of whatever you need to do, whatever you need that week. What do you really need to focus on? And I feel like sometimes it's as like, get up, brush my hair, brush my teeth, feed my dog. Certainly as we were kind of going through some of those times where we really weren't getting out much, I feel like that's just kind of focus things, focus needs. So this is where you can reflect on those, as well as including fun stuff. In the past, I've used like sing out loud, make a new playlist, drive somewhere with my sunroof open. They can certainly be as, practical as you need them to be, or just kind of the fun, sassy things that you want to do, that you want to embrace, kind of tapping into something fun to kind of break up whatever kind of monotony you got going through. And so I'm going to give you guys some time to work on this, and I will see you in a second. Thank you everyone for sharing. I loved that Jill did the absolute elegant call out of this really shouldn't be another task list. So to always include something fun. And I think that's great. It's absolutely what is needed, what is necessary. This is supposed to be that great kind of realistic approach to your habits and activities this week. And sometimes it is just sitting and watching a movie, putting your phone down and being present, dancing around the room, chair dancing when we attend these socials. So I loved that call out there that again should not be another task, shouldn't be another to-do list. It should be something that you get excited about, something that you're using in that kind of, I feel like if you start to kind of dread it a little, then maybe you just need to try something a little bit different. Maybe it's a 5-4-3-2-1 approach. Maybe it is just something a little bit different. So now we are moving to page 41. So we're just going to flip over. The meal plan, I always hate to use generalizations, but I love to use generalizations here because I feel like meal plan is one of those, it's an amazing setup and it's a great kind of built-in template, but a lot of people repurpose it. I feel like it's one of the most repurposed sections in the weekly plan, in the weekly kind of spread. And that's because you can use it as a true traditional meal planner. But then I know other folks have used it to kind of track food intake in real time. I know people use it to kind of track other activities. And then you can use it for daily affirmations. You can use it as a gratitude log, a cleaning log, or the GLAD system, which is the GLAD, something that you're grateful for, something that you learned, something that you accomplished, something that delighted you. You can also use it as a self-care planner. Someone is starting a 12-week home organization challenge, which I'm now very invested in the Silk and Sonder Club, because week 1 is tackling the kitchen. So I'm curious what the next ones are going to be there as well. Then you have other ones that are doing events and tasks. Someone is focusing this on the big 4. They want to do exercise, meditation, book, and dinner each day. So kind of the write out there. And then someone just didn't want to use that section at all. So they covered it with some stickers and used it as motivation. And then it can also be used as a workout log. I am actually set to travel next week. So I'm going to be using it to figure out what I'm going to wear. So it's going to be what I need to pack, what I need to wear for my various training days. So I've become a big fan of that. So you can certainly use the meal plan for any type of aspect. But like I said, it's a great kind of Monday through Sunday. You can track your water or not, but then you can always take that washi tape over and do it for something else. So I'm going to give you a little bit of an opportunity to work on this, and I will check back in. you everyone for talking about how you repurpose this or use it. I do see some folks that are actually using it as a meal planner. So I always love when they do that. For me this week, it's going to be tracking it in real time. I'm feeling super great, got low energy. So I'm trying to figure out if that is just the way I'm feeling right now or symptoms of something else. And I know other folks have used it kind of track, senior pet, or as well as elderly parents. Like I said, it's a really great kind of blank template to use. So certainly the possibilities are endless, and love seeing it shared in the Sonder app. Now still again on page 41, now the top right, mind body health plan. Again, another one of those that gets repurposed often. You can use it as the weekday kind of check-in. These are reflection or journal prompts that you can then use for the week to kind of respond to. People have broken it into the I feel and I need, as well as the other kind of things of maybe it can be your alliteration, motivation Monday, meatless Monday, transformation Tuesday, all of those, as well as other folks use it as a reading log. It's a way to track the 7 types of rest. And the 7 types of rest are physical, mental, sensory, creative, emotional, social, and spiritual. So another way you can kind of approach this is, what did you do for you today, either for your mind or your body in that? And so it's also another one that you can track kind of whatever creative aspect you did. Did you eat healthy? Did you exercise? Did you clean? Kind of those other aspects to it. And while we are here, we're also going to cover the bottom section, which is the shopping list. Again, this can be repurposed, but people can also use it as the meal plan kind of shopping list together. But I've seen it as another place for bingos. Someone is tracking their morning and evening routines. Also can be kind of a remember section. Someone also tracks the affirmations here, as well as a traditional packing list, which is where I use it. And then so you got a couple different options how to approach this. So I'm going to give you guys a little bit of time to get some ideas here. I will scroll back and forth, and then we will check in a little bit. you everyone for sharing. Saw a couple of really great ideas. Someone was going to repurpose it to what did they create today? That was going to be their kind of new section. I saw kind of the opposite of a swear jar, like a good things jar, because I'm also there. The graph paper, small squares always makes those type of ideas really great, as well as something kind of that you were proud of, something that kind of scared you a little. I think all of these are great ways to kind of reutilize that section here. And so that actually brings us to the end of our session. It was a lot to cover, which I feel like they usually are on these weeklies. So if you missed anything, don't worry. You can scan the QR code for the YouTube link for social recordings. This is a unsearchable YouTube page that has all of the past events. So you can always come back through and you'll have the presenter as well as the slides. So you can always come back and do that. And then you can also please fill out our survey. We want to hear your feedback. Does this time work for you? Do you need more note pages? Kind of all of those ideas that we love to hear, love to see. So you can scan the QR code here, or you can answer the survey in the email that's going to be sent to you after this. And then you can also make sure, if you're not a part of the Silk and Sonder Club app, definitely download that. We can continue the conversations there, because I know someone asked if they had made the recipe. I know that there were a couple of folks that had already made it, and they put their kind of review in the Sonder app. And then for this particular weekly spread, we love to see how you break down of that, as well as here is my playlist. I will also put the link to the Spotify playlist there. You can definitely join. I've got a couple other playlists there. Always a fan. And let us know. We'll be sticking around a little bit after this. So if you have any other questions, we can flip back to other slides. We'll include all of the other links. But thank you guys so much for spending this Sunday afternoon or evening with us, and I hope you guys have a fantastic week. We're going to tackle it together, and to kind of embrace the abundance theme. I am super excited because I finally get to play Material Girl, but it is a Taylor Hanson version. I'm originally from Tulsa, so I love me some Hanson brothers. So definitely do some chair dancing and let us know what you need. We hope to see you soon, and you have a fantastic week too of this week, 2023. Thank you, everyone.
material, a material.